Hello, this is Mason Lovett. I am here presenting my final bonus project for CS536 Computer Networks. It's spring 2023 and we're at Purdue University. So let me talk a little bit about the background for my project. So last semester I attended one of the Purdue Serious talks, and it was titled "A Fake Image is Worth 1,000 Lies." And this talk touched a little bit on how people are really bad at verifying whether the sources they use are reputable or unreputable. And it's not just that they're bad at verifying them, they're bad at discerning which sources are good, which sources are bad, and bad at figuring out what's misinformation and what is factual information. And what's even worse on top of that is that people don't know they're bad at this. They tend to really overestimate their ability to figure out what's factual and what is not factual. So this kind of got me thinking about different possible solutions to this, or different possible ways to make this better within the internet space. So one thing that I thought of was if people had some sort of tool which was objective and kind of just showed them whether or not results or websites or information is considered reputable, or if it's more untrusted, or we don't know. So my approach to this was creating a Google Chrome extension that will do just that. So let me show a mock-up of what that might look like. So this was my initial idea. I just kind of sketched this out. So you can see we have a Google search result on the page. And what's different is that each result is boxed in by a colored box. And there are red boxes, yellow boxes, and green boxes. And on the right-hand side, you can see that there's kind of a key. So we see that a red box notes that a source is unreputable. So we can see the top result here, wikiwan.com. Just in this example, these aren't actual classifications of these websites. It's just kind of a demo of how this might look. So we can see the top site, wikiwan.com, has been classified as red by the extension, which means it is not a reputable source. So what makes a source not reputable would be, in the past, they have kind of repeatedly given out information which is counterfactual or misinformation. And then we have the second result, which is indianacapitalchronicles.com, and we can see that that has been classified with a yellow box, meaning that we don't know whether or not this site is reputable or not. So you can look at it, but we don't really know if it's a trusted source. Versus the third one, we see indystar.com, and that has been classified green, which means it is a reputable site. So one thing to think about off the bat with this project is, how are we going to figure out which sites are reputable and which sites are not reputable? Or how do we kind of make that decision? So what I did was I looked at some papers and some publications which have already been done, which kind of do just that. And I just kind of took those and implemented them into my project. And I decided to focus more on kind of the technical aspect of this and just kind of showing like a proof of concept. But farther down the line, if this project were to be continued, people who are more informed about that sort of information could decide which sites are going to be unreputable and which sites are going to be reputable. So in terms of the way this application works, is it will keep two big lists or databases of websites or sources. So the first list or database is going to be the unreputable sites. So these are sites that have kind of proven historically that they provide information which is counterfactual and shouldn't really be taken at face value. So there's a lot of websites which will kind of just try to grab users' attention by doing outrageous headlines or just straight up lying about events or things like that. So those are sources that we can't trust and which can cause a lot of damage to the public if these things kind of get spread around very quickly, as they tend to. So on the other end, of the spectrum, we have the other database, the second one, which is going to hold the reputable sources. So in this, we have kind of the opposite. So we have sources which have kind of tried and true in the past shown that they will do their best to kind of disseminate information which is factual and has kind of a scientific look, or more of a reputable look in general. So these are things which will be more trusted by the public and have been shown to tell the facts pretty much. So these two lists were the first thing I did. I kind of gathered information around and kind of built up these two lists. So then the question is, how is this extension going to work? Or what is kind of the general idea that how can we use these two lists to kind of accomplish the goal, which is what we see in the mockup? And so the way the extension is going to work is that whenever your browser makes a web request, it's going to fetch a page from a web server, and when that web server sends the information back, the Chrome extension is going to parse the application level data. So we're talking at the very top of the network stack. Within that kind of HTML layer, we have the payload, which is the website you see in front of you. So the way that this extension works is it's going to utilize JavaScript to parse through those results, because search engines like Google have very specific protocols within their application data. So even though we're using HTML as our protocol, or HTML, we also, within the data, the page itself has its own sort of protocol, which the Google developers can use to kind of give us a reliable experience when we're loading different results and things. So the extension can leverage that sort of expected output for the web page, and it can alter that. It can pick out the most important pieces of information, and then in real time, it will be able to kind of update what you're seeing on the page in front of you, which will make it a lot quicker to kind of determine which sites are reputable and stuff like that. So other things that the extension uses is it utilizes HTML itself for a menu that we're going to see, and it also uses CSS, which is just how websites kind of do their visual front-end styling. Another thing it implements is cookies. So this is kind of just small pieces of storage inside the web browser, which we've talked about in the past. So let's go a little bit into what the final goal for this project was. So my goal was to have a working extension which does exactly what we see on the screen in front of us, and it just sorts these things in real time as the user is browsing the internet, maybe trying to answer some questions, trying to figure something out. They want to know what sources are trusted and which sources have been known to spread misinformation. So let's take a look at how this goal was accomplished. So first of all, let's pull up an instance of Chrome here. So really quick, before we go into that too much, I do want to show kind of this protocol within the application level data, which I talked a little bit about. So what we see is usually just this nice page on the left here, which has all of our search results. It's very human readable. But what is actually going on, what the computer sees to some extent, is over here on the right. And this is the HTML for the page. We can see it's got a bunch of different kind of nested things going on. It's got a lot of information here. It's got some code, a bunch of stuff. So the way this works, it looks like a bunch of nonsense, but the extension is actually able to read through this and kind of parse what is important and what is not important. And it can kind of use this to determine how it's going to classify the results and how it's going to be able to discern between which result is which and stuff like that. So it can use this very expected pattern or protocol that we see within the application level itself. So that's a little bit of the technical. So let me show you how you could try this extension for yourself if you have the code. So what you need to do is navigate to Chrome://extensions. Okay, so this is going to be where we can kind of upload our extensions, and test them out. So what we're going to do is we're going to load an unpacked extension. So for me, it's called final, but if you are looking at it, you might have it saved as like extension or something like that. So you're just going to select that whole folder, which contains all the code for the extension. So we'll select that. And then here we go. We see reputable source classifier 1.0. And we see it can parse browser content to determine which results are reputable. Okay, great. So how do we actually use this? We've seen that it's popped up here on our Chrome extensions. All we need to do is navigate up here to the top right. We will see extensions, and that is kind of where all of them are housed. And here we go. We see our little magnifying glass icon, our title, and we see this little thumbtack. We will click on the thumbtack to pin the extension, and then we'll see it will be permanently up here in our search bar. So let's try the extension out. Let's say we search for something like InfoWars, something like this. So here we go. We see our website is here. We've got a bunch of different results. Someone has told us about this website or whatever. We want to check it out, see if it is trustworthy or what's there to know about it. So we'll go ahead and try it. And here we go. We hit classify, and boom. We see InfoWars is considered one of the less reputable sites. We see it's red. So let's see if we can find more information about this. Maybe something, oh, here we go, PolitiFact. Boom, and this will tell us, oh, InfoWars is a conspiracy-oriented website run by whoever. And it has all these different informations. We see maybe some social media sites aren't trusted, NPR, and on and on. So we can kind of just see it's immediately classified all these for us, and we can kind of just quickly scroll through and we'll get an idea of what is reputable and what's not reputable. So that's great. So this kind of shows how the extension could be used by someone browsing the internet. And then if they don't want these colors anymore, you can just go up here and click clear. And this is a little bit more, this is that menu I was talking about earlier. This is kind of where the HTML and CSS are used on the extension to give us this kind of visual menu that we can interact with. I'm not really a front-end developer, but I think it gets the job done, so it's good enough for our purposes. What else can do? Oh, one thing I was also able to accomplish was I was really interested in how these kind of different search engines use their protocol within the actual page itself. They have their own kind of proprietary protocol. So if we go to another search engine I was able to implement this on was DuckDuckGo, which is a different one. So if we were to search again for InfoWars or whatever we want to search for, we can see that the extension also works for DuckDuckGo, which is great. We can see again, we have this Infowars.com that's considered unreputable, but we see, oh, NPR will consider that reputable. We see Rumble, a bunch of different results. And you can load as many as you want, and then just classify them all at once like that. And you'll see, oh, here's some greens, some Twitter, not necessarily reputable all the time. And yeah, it's pretty intuitive for the user to use. They can just pull up this menu and then they can clear out their results. So this is pretty much what we wanted to accomplish with this project, and we were able to get that done. Some interesting results I wanted to share. Just kind of this, I feel like, is a good demonstration of kind of how this could be used. So someone could look up like, is the earth flat, or something that they're not really knowledgeable about but they want to know more. And we see kind of right here, I think this perfectly shows how the extension works. So we see the Washington Post, it shows that the weather helps disprove the flat earth hypothesis. That is considered reputable. Beneath it we have one which we don't know is reputable or not, and then beneath that we have Twitter, where it's the Flat Earth Society, and that has been marked as unreputable. So I just thought that this was a interesting result of when I was testing out the extension. I just thought it was a good representative example. So yeah, I was able to accomplish all the goals I wanted to, which I was really excited about, and I also was able to implement. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do this, but I was able to also get it implemented on DuckDuckGo, which I was really excited about as well. I learned a lot throughout this project, specifically about how there are protocols used within protocols. So we kind of talk about encapsulation and the network stack, throughout the course. But I found it really interesting that even within the payload of the application layer, there are protocols going on for each search engine or website because they have to be able to interface with their content and modify it and whatnot. So that was pretty much all I had for this project. Thank you for watching, and I hope you got something out of this and can try the extension for yourself. So bye-bye.